Headphones on, let's do this.
Hey, do you know of a podcast I could listen to that has nerd and comic books and stuff? I really can't find one.
I say, you ever heard of the Nerd Dumb Podcast?
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Nerd Dome Podcast, episode 256. I'm your podcaster without fear, and today I'm joined with that uncanny guy.
256.
Yes,
That's a lot of episodes.
it is. It is. In
It's a very important
people,
binary number, 256.
is it?
Yes.
And we have our classic Chris, as always.
That is also a whole bunch of spoonfuls of rat snot. Like if we're just saying like numbers of things that are a lot of it. If it's 200, that's also a lot of that.
Yes. It's also a lot of times to get hit in the face.
Right.
Not a fan of
Right.
that.
No.
No.
That kind of sucks.
Yeah.
But yeah. And our last host.
I'm the only one that's going to say their own name. I'm the alliterative Andrew.
I said my own name, sir. Yeah, guys. Sorry we took last week off. Had a little bit of a traffic nightmare with all of the main roads headed north in Utah shut down, and then all the back roads were one lane roads. So it took me like 3 hours to get home, and I'm like, this isn't happening. I'm sorry, guys.
At the
But,
best
yeah.
of times, that traffic is terrible, and so when it's
Yeah.
bad, it's bad.
Yeah, and I left at like 3:00. So
wow.
it was on. I was like, this is only gonna get worse. But yeah. I hope you guys liked the last episode with Philip Seavey, talking some D&D. That guy had another 5 pages of notes that we didn't get to, so we will have a second round of D&D talk, and it'll be fantastic. Which actually our Ryan, our DM listened to that podcast, and he said he started taking notes. He's like, oh, that's a good idea.
Which one? Which DM?
Of our current D&D group.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, currently.
Mhm.
Currently. But man, if we could get Dungeon Master Mike and Philip on to talk together, we wouldn't say anything. They would just talk for 3 hours, and we'd go, cool. That's neat. And we also discovered in the last episode that the AI algorithm loves Chris.
Friend of the robots.
Ever since he said that, when I run the algorithm at the end of the podcast to like give us like good little 30-second, 60-second clips, it's always Chris. Every single time. Like Philip talked like 90% of the time. And like the two questions Chris jumped in on, the AI was like, that guy. That one right there.
As I instantly said the dumbest things, you know what I mean? Like everything else was everything else was an even keel of like good information and interesting stories and stuff, and the AI looked for like deviations from that, and they're like, well, this idiot talked twice and both things he said were incredibly stupid, like off of the charts. And so they were like, obviously the rest of the episode you should listen to, but if you want to see the idiot here, let's spotlight him for 30 seconds and maybe he'll stop.
It's
I won't.
It's just the Chris Hoffman highlight reel.
Yes.
We'll just put together we'll take a year's worth of episodes and just put it into one massive clip of the AI loving Chris.
Each one of them, then you show them, I sit there and I'm like, this is a story I probably shouldn't have told in public. That's the other reason that it's coming up with things. Yeah, these are the things when it's like, if I ever had any aspiration of running for office, these highlight reels are going to be the reason, one of the many, many, many reasons that it wouldn't work out well for me.
I'm going to start.
Certainly.
I'm going to start getting calls from the tabloids. Hey, I heard you have the rights to those Chris Hoffman videos.
Yeah, you want to sell those to me, mister?
Yeah. Quietly slink back to my just get up to the podium I was just at to announce and be like, I'd like to announce that I'm shutting down my whatever pursuit of office here, and I hope everyone has a nice day. Bye.
Yeah.
Right.
I hope
And
the
see-
next alderman all the best.
Exactly. I was just thinking, there's no way to think about like running for office and not think of that Simpsons episode. There was even the theme song going in my head was exactly the Sanford and Son, I believe, is the theme song that's going at that point. And yeah, there's early Simpsons episodes have rotted my brain. They've taken care.
Yeah.
There's no memories of like old birthdays and stuff like that, but that type of stuff is
It's
still
just
stuck in there.
Simpsons.
Yeah.
See, and the other thing, because my brain will tangent from that, and I think of the South Park episode, the Simpsons did it.
Mhm.
Every time I watch the Simpsons, I'm like, Simpsons did that already. Simpsons did it already. But yeah, so you guys had free comic book day the weekend before last.
2 weeks ago. Yeah.
Yes. So tell us about it. Tell us how it went.
Andrew, I've talked already a little bit. You want to?
Oh, sure. Yeah,
Start up here.
it was terrific. We were hosted by Black Cat Comics, and we were joined there by the fine fellows from Bleak Haven, and we opened and closed the place. It was a terrific time as always. It's always great to see people, and there are some people it seems that we only see on Free Comic Book Day nowadays, and so it's always good to see them. And I don't know, this is one of the things I like about our doing comics is meeting people and talking about comics. And then Greg had a terrific sale too for Free Comic Book Day, so that always makes it nice.
Yeah, there was we talked about this. We have like a comic book indie comic book maker consortium that we kind of talk to, where we talk business and how things are going with your yeah, I don't know, it sounds a lot more fancy. It's just some of us that are making comics, right? Some of us way more successful than others, and so we just kind of like trade out like what we're seeing in the industry and what like what we're doing on our projects and stuff. And so one of the things we were talking about after Free Comic Book Day, some of us were at the at Black Hat, somewhere at Nerd Store, somewhere at the Dr. Volt's, all Utah ones, and then having some friends out of state at different comic book stores. And the sort of general vibe we were getting from people, like everybody who came had a great time. And I've been doing the Free Comic Book Days with Greg as a guest. Like the first time I did that was somewhere like 12, 14 years ago. And so I've done a bunch of these. And Andrew's bit was a comic book store employee for many years at one of the most popular comic book stores in the state, where they used to have like 8 to 12 employees and guests and helpers like help out. They wouldn't even have guests at the store because there was no room for it. You know what I mean? And at Black Hat Comics, there would usually have to be 3 or 4. There would be like the people that come and help out on the weekends, clean up and stuff. He would have some people that are like not regular employees come in and help for the day, right? And I remember when that line would be somewhere around like 2.5 to 3 hours long. There was one point where Greg had a live band in the parking lot of Black Cat Comics just to keep people entertained because they were sitting outside in the hot sun for 3 hours trying to get some those free comic books, right? And Greg has never done a sale on a Free Comic Book Day. Usually Free Comic Book Day is the day, right? Like you come for the free comics and you'll pick up stuff along the way, and it's usually still a blockbuster sales day, right? And so what he tried that out and it was a huge success. Most of the stores that I talked to said that they had like a record sales day, right? With or without a sale, right? But a lot of places did feel like that the atmosphere, the like hoopla over Free Comic Book Day was way more subdued this year than it had been in previous years. Did either of you guys make it out to any store or any location?
Yeah, I didn't. I had went to
Case in point.
Right.
Yeah. Well, no, this one was a date with the wife for a soccer game. So
Oh,
Oh, right.
So
Did you win?
yeah, Yes, yes.
Awesome. You got in the soccer
did.
game and yeah,
Yeah.
Messied it up
They
there.
said you in the crowd. We need you.
You were like,
Get out of
me?
here.
You're all in uniform already, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I had my normal clothes on, but they were all tearaway clothes
Oh, there you
for
go.
the uniform that I was wearing underneath.
Perfect. Yeah.
Tearaway denim.
But yeah, I don't know if that I'd be interested any listeners to say whether it was like the Christmas like event that it has been in previous years. I think COVID did a number on Free Comic Book Day itself, and it's going to take a while. I think publishers looked at what they were doing. There weren't as many titles available this year. They are, if people didn't know, Gail Simone puts out a post on social media about this every year to tell people, because most just casual fans, and even I didn't know for a really long time, that the store pays for those comics. The free comics you come in and get for free, you'd th- I was always under the impression, and I feel like the publishers don't like really dispel this at all, go through any length of trouble to dispel it. That they are like marketing from the publisher, where they're like, "Oh, it's a new book that's coming out. We're going to send it to you for free, hand it out, and then if you get some people who like it, they'll come and get it." They the stores buy it at a steep discount, right? But they pay for them. Those comics are not free. They're free to you. They're not free to the store. And so when you come in and you buy something, when you get your free comics, that's awesome. That helps out the store, right? When you get that stuff. But compared to previous years, there weren't as many titles available. There weren't as many like exclusive things, right? Like there was one year where there was a Walking Dead you could only get from there. That the story wasn't going to be in anything else, and so that was a hot item. Um, and the publishers are used to just let you buy the comics as onesie twosie. Like, I just want five copies of this issue, 10 copies of this issue. But the big two will only let you buy them in bundles of 25 now. So you have to purchase 25 and then 50, 100, you know how 25s work, how counting works. And then a lot of the other indie publishers, they are still doing onesie twosie, except for one of them this year. One of them this year, who is the publisher of the Initial D comic, the manga anime, and they didn't tell. Apparently, it wasn't clear that you were buying bundles, so people bought 10, thinking, "Oh, we're going to get 10 issues of this book," and they got 10 bundles of 25. And so many comic books on social media, comic book stores are on social media, and they're like, "I have hundreds of this Initial D comic, and and they don't take them back. You know what I mean? They're not gonna. They're the Initial D. Like, the salespeople are all high fiving each other for this year. They're like, "Dude, we made, woo, banner year for Initial D." So yeah, but I don't know. That's good. How that's going to go over again next year. So we'll see. It feels like we're back to before 2000 2019, right? I feel like we're back at like 2015 numbers. Greg was surprised when all the books were gone. Like, he had purchased some and he was like, "Oh, there's fewer titles," and we got some. And then when he turned around, he said, someone called and said, "Hey, do we still have some stuff?" And we looked around and we were like, "There's like 5 books left." And he was like, "Oh my gosh." So I think people are just recalibrating to the day, customers and shops. I did unfortunately hear about a couple of comic book stores. Free Comic Book Day is sometimes like Black Friday for comic book stores, right? Like, they make so much money out of this, it rides them out for the rest of the year, right? Even with record breaking sales, there's still a couple comic book stores that looked at their numbers after this, not in Utah, but around the country, that said, "Well, this is our last one," and they're closing the store.
Oh man.
So it's a mixed bag was it successful? Yeah, I think people had a good time. They got a lot of cool free comics. Most of the stores that I talked to said that they had record breaking sales, but for some stores, it's still just not enough.
Yeah, no, that sucks. I usually don't make it out to Free Comic Book Day. But I do remember it was a few years ago at the nerd store. I went there to help CGC witness for Chad Harden. and it was right when the Nintendo Switch came out, and no one could get the Nintendo Switch. Ryan knows this story. There was a kid there that had spent all this money to get all his entries into getting this Nintendo Switch in the giveaway. And I'm assuming he probably spent enough to just go buy a Nintendo Switch. But somebody else won the item, and he started like banging something on the shelves. But I wanted it more. And I had to stand up and dad voice him. I was like, "Hey, stop." And he kind of looked down, and he walked out of the store. But I was like, I just had to dad voice a stranger because he didn't win a giveaway. But yeah, I remember that day, especially when they were doing the giveaway. There were people, they had to put like speakers, like Charles was using a megaphone, trying to get everyone to hear who was winning the drawing. And that was, I don't even know, that 2018, maybe earlier. I can't, whenever the Nintendo Switch came out. But yeah, that was crazy. But then, yeah, I usually just don't make it out because I'll go and I'll see the giant crowds of people, and I'm like, I'll wait. I'll wait. But yeah. But it's good that you guys had a good time. When you're talking about seeing people that you only see on free comic book day or a convention, that used to be you two guys. For me and Ryan, like we'd only be able to see you guys at the convention or at the store every once in a while. So I totally get that. There's like, just, you're right. There's a whole group of people that you only see at events or conventions and stuff like that. So it's always fun, even if the convention isn't, the greatest time all around. You're there with friends. So that makes it better.
Oh yeah.
All right. Ryan,
Mm?
let's talk some X-Men 97.
No.
I thought you were saying no.
Yeah.
Like, no. What? I'm not
Next
talking
time,
about that.
next time he'll do it, and it'll turn into the Adam West Batman theme. But so we had episode 9 of 10, I believe.
Yes. Tomorrow's the end. I don't want to end. I don't want to be over.
So tell us how you felt about the previous episode.
About 8?
9.
About 9?
Yes.
Well, it was like previous to.
Well, I guess we could do 8 and 9. I guess we could do 8 and 9. We haven't talked about it. Last time we didn't talk any X-Men. We just talked Dungeons and Dragons the whole time.
Yeah. So I thought it was cool that they were doing Operation Zero Tolerance. That's not a very well-received story generally. So I'm like, this will be interesting. I think they've done it well. I like Bastion as a villain. I think he's interesting. I'm curious as to where they're going to go with his origin because they haven't really explained it super well. So I'm wondering if they're just going to be like, that's fine, or if they're going to go into it more. But,
They explained his origin, but it was weird because it wasn't like from the comics where it was also weird and magical.
Yeah.
But
if I remember, I haven't rewatched that episode yet, but then they were just like, yeah, was a kid, and
it was nanites that swam up his dad's leg or whatever.
Yeah.
No, it's like Sentinels bang, apparently. Yeah.
It was a master mold.
There's the episode name right there, Andrew. Sentinels bang, apparently. You did this. It's not my fault.
You're just encouraging me not to contribute.
It's why you're not supposed to pee in like a swamp, because there's like the things that
they crawl up there.
The deadly Kandiru.
Yeah, it's just nanites and then superpowers.
Next thing you know, you're having a Sentinel baby.
Yeah. Um,
So
We've turned into a barbershop
what
quartet.
about the Fatal Attraction scene?
So it was funny. So I a friend at work, we were talking, and he had some questions about Operation Zero Tolerance, and we were just discussing back and forth, and I was having some brain farts, and I was like, I don't remember, because he's like, well, when did Fatal Attractions happen? And I was like, well, that was before. This is before we even saw anything. And then I said, then Operation Zero Tolerance, and then right after that goes Onslaught, and then we were talking about every story that we talked about was in this episode.
Right?
I'm like, that's cool. So yeah, I was surprised that they did the adamantium fatal attractions thing. As soon as Wolverine stabs Magneto, I was like, and then he flips around and starts doing the thing. And then when Professor X is also taking over Magneto's mind to do whatever he's doing to undo whatever he did to the Earth's magnetic field, I was like, oh, are they gonna jump right into Onslaught next? And then they did that, and I was like, oh, there's too many stories.
Yeah, it's like
It-
one year-long story arc per episode.
Yeah.
They're just cramming them in there. Yeah.
Yeah. I liked in episode 8, because I've been watching it with my daughter. And we watched all of the Fox X-Men live action movies. And in every one, she just shakes her head and she's like, why do these people keep making Magneto mad? Like, why do they do this? It's not going to end well. And then when, Magneto's up on his X cross and she gets out and she's like, well, they made Magneto mad. Like, what did you think was going to happen?
We've now entered the find out phase.
Yeah. And I also saw a meme that was like the Magneto cosplay, and it was just a white wig and then some black Speedos. But yeah, that whole time she was just like, well, she's like, again, what did you think was going to happen? She's like, just don't make Magneto mad and everyone's fine. And I was like, that's a very simple solution for a very complicated problem. But she did nail most of the cameos in episode 8. The one that she really got excited about was Dr. Doom, because she's been reading a lot of Fantastic Four. And so she's a big fan of Doom. And
Yeah,
she was
Zemo
like, wait.
shows up too. That was cool.
Yeah, yep, Zemo. And then the one that I got the most text messages about was the 0.8 seconds that Spider-Man showed up. And I was like, yeah, I'm
gonna be
watch
a
it.
Spider-Man 98 spinoff.
I mean, I would watch it.
I would too. I loved that cartoon.
Except who was it? The actor who plays RoboCop does Daredevil's voice in the old
Does he?
the old Spider-Man one, and it's just kind of not quite what you think of with Daredevil. He's got that like that deeper voice that just kind of, he sounds like the Shadow. He should voice the Shadow, but he was like,
he did the voice of Dark Knight Returns Batman in that animated movie.
Yeah.
Better casting for that for sure. Yeah.
Yes, please. And again, even watching that, my daughter, I don't know why, but she, like, we talked about it before, the hair color of characters. We were watching the old one, and Matt Murdock is blonde in the Spider-Man one. She's like, no, why is he and I was like, come on, kiddo.
Yeah,
You gotta get past the hair coloring. Because it derails her. She will not
Takes her right out.
Focus. She's like, no, the hair's wrong.
Do not show her Hanna-Barbera cartoon.
Right. But she did actually she wanted to watch some more X-Men, and I actually found my DVD copy of the X-Men anime that they did a few years back.
Oh, yeah.
And
The
she's
one with
loving that, because that's like
armor?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's like the collision of things that she loves. She's the anime and X-Men. And then she was when Emma Frost showed up, she's like, Dad, I know who that is. And I was like, cool. She got very excited about that. but also had a problem with Cyclops' hair color in that as well. And I'm just like, kid. So she liked it when he had the hood on because then it wasn't a distraction.
Solves
Which
the
she
problem.
also liked about in episode 9 with the old costumes
That was cool.
making their appearance. And it's because they just got that arcade machine, and that's what they're wearing in the arcade machine. So after she got done, ran out to the arcade machine and started playing playing X-Men after that. But yeah, that was fun. That was a cool little callback. Not really. I didn't understand why they. Oh no, that's right. They went to Moira's and she had the
Yeah.
old
They're
costumes.
like, oh, yeah, because they're like, oh, we have to go back to the old base on Muir Island, and I was like, but then they had all the old costumes there, and then Storm just when she Sailor Mooned in the end of life death went into her old costume and her long hair.
Mr. Mohawk, though.
Yeah.
I like, what was it? There was a meme that was like, wait, where's Jean? Wait, where's Rogue? And it was like all the questions that were not answered, and Storm was just like, cool, let's roll. Yeah, we'll talk about that later. Let's go. Where's Gambit? Like none of that was covered, but you know, I did have a friend send me a message saying that the latest episode he felt like didn't really deliver. He said he felt like everything had this kind of, he had this, that they were having this really good pace with the episodes, and then he feels like this one was just kind of all over the place. And like there was, it just went from 0 to 11 real quickly. So I wanted to get your thoughts on that.
I liked it. I mean, I am the target audience for this cartoon. So I'm probably super biased, but I loved it. I don't really have much criticism for any of the episodes. they're just hitting well for me.
I was just looking up some of the other cameos that were in episode 8.
My favorite one on 9 was Morph Smash, and then throwing him around. I'm like, yes.
Which didn't he turn into the Juggernaut the episode before that?
I think so.
Which also could have been equally damaging. Just throw the Juggernaut. Cannonball special, the Juggernaut. But there's that little shot with Polaris in episode 8 and Rachel
in the future.
Yeah.
And then the bad guys, Omega Red, Silver Samurai. That was cool. That's another character. My daughter, every time she sees Silver Samurai, she's like, "Who's that?
Oh,
who's that?" And I'm like, "I've told you 13 times, Silver Samurai."
You gotta get that Daredevil comic then, dude.
Yeah, yeah. But I think it was especially in the anime, he's so stylized. She's like, "Who is that?" And it took me a second, and I was like, "I think it's Silver Samurai." It's 85% sure it's Silver Samurai, and it's only in like the intro or the outro or something like that. But yeah. So yeah, I'm excited for the finale. I'm interested to see how they're going to wrap it up, and I'm pretty sure that we've got a next season already confirmed.
They've talked or announced that they're looking for a replacement for
Bo.
Yeah. So I would assume that means they're moving forward with some stuff. Also, did you notice that Vulcan's in the Imperial Guard? I was like, oh, he's just hanging out there in the background.
Don't tell nobody I'm from Earth.
That's I saw it and I wanted to put on my Probably a Summers Brother shirt. But yeah, and even my daughter was like, "Who's that?" I was like, "Okay, let's get through the episode first, and then we'll dive into that, man."
My favorite joke so far in this thing was, "What did you expect? Black leather?" Like Thing making fun of Thing making fun of Thing. I'm like, yes.
It was jokeception. Yeah, no, it was awesome. I'm ready. I'm ready for the next one. The next thing that we had was we got the first image from James Gunn's Superman. Used to be Superman Legacy, now it's just Superman of the actor in the super suit. And I looked at it and said,
Where
"That
is
looks like
my super
Superman."
suit?
I was like, "That's Superman." Okay. It does give me like some of the new 52 vibes with the collar on it, but I'm like, it looks fine. It looks like a Superman suit.
It's a little dirty.
But yeah, it's a little darker, and also apparently Goku and Vegeta are fighting in the background
I
with
thought
that
about that too. I'm like, what is that?
with that giant blast. Yeah, and me being a DBZ nerd, I was like, Goku. It's Goku. He's trying to save the planet. While Superman's putting his boots on.
Do we know who the villain of the movie is yet? We know
I
Lex Luthor's
belie-
in it, but do we know?
I don't know. Giant space laser usually makes me think Brainiac,
Well, it's pink.
but yeah. Let's see what the internet says. But yeah, I know, and then I know Maxwell Lord's in it as well, but I don't think he's the big bad for a first Superman movie, you know.
Yeah, that would be unfortunate.
So it says that the engineer.
Is the villain?
Mm-hmm.
So they're fighting Stormwatch. That would be a
Yep.
good fight because that's Apollo, Midnighter. It's essentially a version of the Justice League.
Hmm.
Yeah.
But they're probably not in it. It's probably just the engineer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it looks like it. From what I'm seeing, it looks like that's who the villain is, as assisted by Lex Luthor. So
All right.
yeah. I mean, I saw it and I was like, looks like Superman. Yeah, like it's a little dirty and dark, but that's kind of DC's thing. So I mean, I'm still gonna go see it. Like I'm a little excited. I'd say I'm a little more excited about it than I was actually seeing. You know, it's Superman. That's like the flagship of what they have over there.
Mhm.
So don't fuck it up. Don't fuck it up. We can't do another reboot.
Tougher than you realize, apparently.
Yeah, it's a less than 50-50 chance. Like, go through all the Superman movies. How many of them are good? Fewer than
Right.
50% of them.
Right.
So apparently it is really, really hard. It's not. It's just really hard for anybody who ever gets a hold of it. So James Gunn, good luck, man. Like,
If anybody can do
Yeah.
it, he can. Yeah.
Mhm.
Look what he did
Yeah.
with Guardians of the Galaxy.
Mhm.
right.
Yeah.
That's the deal, and that's always been the argument with this, right? Is it's how much interference is he going to have? Because how much interference can you give on your back knowledge of the Guardians of the Galaxy, right? Where you can sit there and be like, I don't think you're being comic accurate with
Yondu.
Rocket Raccoon, yeah, with
Yeah.
Yondu, which is fucking
True, they weren't.
That's
Yeah.
100% true. Adrian Ropp tells a story about that where he was trying to write a story about Yondu, and it kept getting rejected because he was writing the story from the brave, noble warrior standpoint, and they finally came back to him and was like, "Oh, he's a space trucker now," and he's like, "Oh, well, I can do that. You just have to tell me." You know what I mean?
Give me some context.
Yeah, give me some context on this. But Superman, everybody, I'm 100% sure what went wrong with a bunch of the old ones is the people. There's like the lunchbox committee, like the people who are making. Oh, can there be more scenes in the movie we can put on the lunchbox and stuff? You know. Oh, I don't think this is going to play well with this particular audience. So I think James Gunn is weird enough to just kind of ignore and get around a bunch of that stuff. And so that's my best hope for him, is that he is like just going to be like, look, you hired me to do this, I'm doing it, and your ideas are dumb, and I'm going to do what I want.
Right.
And that's a good chance for it, you know.
Mhm.
Also, I hope it's weird like Slither, like his other stuff, like a Superman movie that is just so weird that it would be like, that it's like high art where it's like, okay, you really did something here. This is amazing. You took this opportunity and this is what you did with it. I'm so yeah, there's the worst thing that could happen is if he makes a boring one. That would be probably the worst thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what
so
my
that leads me-
Superman pitch is? You want to hear
yes.
it?
Sure.
Yes.
It's It's Chinatown from the point of view of Clark Kent, and you never see him as Superman throughout the entire movie. He's just Clark Kent, and he's super but he's doing the reporter work. You know, the everyone's favorite part of Superman is when he's at his boring day job.
Yeah.
And so it's like a noir drama set in the 30s. And it's perfect. And it's artfully shot like an old Humphrey Bogart movie, femme fatales, twists, all that fun stuff. And it's about like corrupt politicians in Metropolis. And then like every once in a while he has to get away from Lois to go catch a airplane or something. And he's like, I gotta go get my shoes shined, Lois. I'll talk to you later. And he runs off, and then you just see him fly off in the background. Make the whole thing for $10 million.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
So my next question, we're going to stick with Superman. Who is your favorite Superman actor? We talked that there has been some, 50-50 shot of a good Superman movie and a bad Superman movie, but like the actual character of Superman, and we'll stick with live action. Who do you think has done the best job or embodied the character, in your opinion?
Dean Cain. No, I'm just kidding.
Is that Dean Cain?
Dean Cain's here, guys. We've said Dean Cain enough. He'll appear in another window. Hi, you guys were talking about me?
Comes in from out of frame. Yeah. Fellas.
Although I did, when I was younger, I really liked that show. The Superman and Lois show. I really liked it.
Oh, yeah. It's one of my wife's favorites. It's how she got into comics.
Nice.
And so we've watched it all at least once together. Yeah, it's a fun one. It's a better adaptation of Silver Age Lois Lane comics than I ever gave it credit for. It's very silly and very much in that same vein. So it's a more comic accurate Superman than it ever got credit for. I like Christopher Reeve as Superman. It wasn't I don't know. I like George Reeves too, because he a lot of the wink at the camera stuff I really like with Superman, because it's not taking itself too seriously. Because that's a character that needs to be fun and lighthearted to be done right.
Wasn't he the one that went to a kid's birthday party, and the kid pointed a gun at him and said, "Look, it's okay. He's Superman. It'll bounce off his chest." And he was like, "Oh," but he
something
went,
like that happened to him. Yeah,
he went into like Superman character and talked to the kid and talked to the gun out of his hand. So an 8-year-old almost smoked Superman back in the 30s, but
I don't think I've ever heard that.
50s. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But yeah, that he's a good one. I think Christopher Reeve is probably my favorite, because I think that's the image that I have of Superman in my head when I just go back and think about it. That aw shucks kind of, super Boy Scout. Because he did the between Clark and Superman, it wasn't just putting on the glasses. He was a completely different person, and I feel like he did that very well. You look at Henry Cavill and you're like, dude, that's Superman.
Right.
Like, are you kidding me? Look at him. But yeah, you're right. He hunched over, he bumbled
the
into
suit
stuff.
was too big, and
right. And I feel like Brandon Routh actually did a very good job at that too. I think he's
did
a very
excellent
underrated
Christopher Reeve impersonation in that.
Yes,
movie.
it was great. Like, I love that one. It got wrapped up in the Bryan Singer X-Men 3 kind of it, because Singer wanted to do X-Men 3, but then he wanted to do Superman, and James Marsden was in Superman. but he couldn't film X-Men at the same time, so they killed him in the first like 30 seconds of the movie, and it was just both of those movies, like it was a train coming off the tracks, and you're like, it was only a matter of when. But I feel like he did a pretty good job. Brandon Routh, I feel like he's one of the more underrated Superman actors.
Nice guy too. Kirsten met him at FanX.
He's super nice. I loved his panel because somebody asked him a question, and it was, I don't think they meant it to come out the way it did. It's so poorly phrased, but it's like, it was something to the effect of, well, how do you recover from playing Superman to all these other really small parts or something like that? And he handled that question so well. And he's like, yeah, and I don't think of it that way. And he goes, I was like, I was really super upset that it wasn't that it's successful. But he's like, I love Adam and I love these other characters that I've gotten to play. And he handled the question so well. And I thought that was really cool. I have a love for George Reeves. This is my mom's Superman. So whenever my mom talks about Superman, that's who she's thinking about. My Superman is Christopher Reeves. That's the one I grew up watching. I do love him too. I think Henry Cavill is a fantastic actor. I did not like that portrayal of Superman, but it wasn't anything to do with him.
Right.
I would like to point out there is absolutely no love in this room for Kirk Allen, apparently. The first actor to play Superman on screen in the
I didn't get a chance
serial.
to say yet. Man.
Yeah, I bet.
Stepping on my joke.
I
have IMDb up here, and I've been waiting for my turn to say something about that, and so, but no, but you know what, you guys have all, like, we're all big Christopher Reeve stands in here, so I'm gonna go a little bit different with your question here. I feel like I have not liked any of the Lex Luthors. They
not a one.
They're never comic accurate. They are never comic accurate. You know what I mean? And again, this is another one of the problems with DC stuff is you can go back to the animated series and just point to it and be like this. Do it
Clancy,
like this.
Clancy Brown as Lex Luthor in those DC ones. I was like, that's the guy. That's the one.
Do it like this. He has to trick. He can't go toe to toe with every time that it's like they try to up the ante with Lex Luthor, where they're like, oh, he'll stab him with a kryptonite samurai sword, and it's like, ugh, give me a break.
It doesn't have to be a physical fight, right?
Yes, yeah. And I understand that that's going to be another thing where it's like, oh well, we're not going to move any Lex Luthor action figures if he's not in a super suit at some point, and that's fine. But the version in the cartoon is cold and calculating, and like when Superman like shows up and he's got his new robot like mushed into a tinfoil ball, and he's like, well, you didn't do this again. He just moves to his next plan. He's like, well, that I have data from this. I'll move on to the next plan, because he's playing the long game with this. You know what I mean? And they never make him. It's really hard, I think, to portray a genius that is not going to go over the head of the audience. Right. So not speaking a lot for like just mainstream movie audiences, right? So, but this guy's supposed to be a super genius. He's supposed to be as strong as Superman is. He's supposed to match him in planning and conniving and wits, you know what I mean? And it's never been that. Like, I like Gene Hackman, but
it's a real estate scheme, right?
Yeah, it's always a real estate scheme. And they all refuse to look like him. He needs to be bald. You know what I mean? Like, what's the deal with this? You know what I mean? Like, the things that I will never be upset when it's a character that's a different gender or a different race, explore that. That's great. But damn it, can we one time get a Lex Luthor that's bald just from the get? Because also the whole in the Superman or in the Amazing Friends cartoons, the whole reason Lex Luthor hates him is because he made his hair fall out.
Yeah, that's from the comics.
So
I got that one. Yeah.
Come, let's
Yeah.
go. You know
See-
what I mean? Like it's part of it. You
Mhm.
I
And
don't care
I
if
feel
Jesse
like
Eisenberg doesn't want to be bald in the movie. You're gonna be bald in the movie.
If you're gonna be Lex Luthor, it's in the
Yeah,
contract.
it's in the contract.
yeah, see, and then you have the opposite of James McAvoy who shaved his head before he showed up as Xavier, and they're like, "You got hair, here's a wig," and he's like, "Oh,
Oh,
I'm
I
helping.
wanted to be
thing.
bald." See, but I was like, you could even take a little bit of, if you want to do your own spin on him, just kind of look at what Marvel's done. You take a little bit of the Kingpin and a little bit of Tony Stark, and you kind of sprinkle them in a pot together, because you need like that menacing kind of like planner, like the Kingpin, but like his public face to
Right.
everyone that's not Superman is
Right.
like, oh, how can you hate that guy?
Well,
Look at he says all the right things. He smiles.
yeah. My take on Lex Luthor is that he's gosh, I just lost exactly. I was so excited to explain it too. I was like, this is the perfect moment. I think about this all the time with Lex, and I just lost it. That was stupid as hell. You talk about what you were talking about. I'm gonna write it down this time.
Yeah, no, that was really it, because I do think that that's something that's never really portrayed, is like the way the general public sees Lex Luthor.
Mhm.
You only get the mad scientist
Oh.
in the lab.
God,
You got it?
Yeah,
You
I
got
got
it?
it.
No.
Now. I got it now. It's a Killmonger type thing, right? Killmonger was such
Hmm.
a popular villain, and Magneto's such a popular villain because he's kind of right.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? He's kind of right. Lex Luthor is kind of right in the fact that he's like, that's not even a fucking man. That's an alien. Everybody, you keep calling him Superman. He is super alien guy. He's super
Mhm.
Kryptonian. Who is he to come here and tell us who we are and who we should be and stuff like that? Fuck that guy. You know what I mean? Like there's a little bit of that in him, and because Lex Luthor wishes that his riches and all of his power gave him the adoration of the public that Superman gets from being a good person and making good decisions. Lex could get the same thing he's getting from that Superman's getting if he put everything, all of his riches and smarts towards good things. You could cure cancer, but a narcissist can't see that path
Mhm.
to the adoration that they desperately want is gone because of how they are. And that's how you deal with that guy. And
Right.
because he wants to wipe Superman off the map for his own personal reasons. Like I should be Superman. Why aren't you calling me Superman? I'm smart. I'm rich. And you just this guy lifted up a bridge, whatever. I blew up the bridge. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
what does it matter?
If it were up to me, I'd make indestructible bridges, but no.
No. They give people cancer from the radiation, and everybody's all mad. Yeah,
Chris, did you ever watch Smallville?
I watched like the first season,
Mhm.
and I quite like. You know what? Thank you. He Rosenbaum is amazing.
Mhm.
That guy, just all around as a person, he's really
Mhm.
cool, and as Lex Luthor, he was super cool. And that take of them being friends and growing apart was pretty great.
He's probably my favorite Lex Luthor.
Yeah. Nope. Good. And he's bald. So
Mhm.
yeah,
From the get-go.
from the get. And his dad was super awesome in that too. The
Oh,
John.
okay.
John
He's
Glover.
such a good villain.
Yeah. He's just a fantastic actor. He's wonderful in
He's-
everything.
Good and everything.
Yep.
I think I've talked about it on the podcast before. He's a very interesting person in real life. I have one of the most memorable experiences with him.
I remember you telling that story.
Yeah.
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 also think-
So the
Tyler Hoechlin, I think he's a fantastic Superman. as
Hoechlin?
well. Yeah.
Tyler Hoechlin from Teen
Tyler
Wolf.
Hoechlin. Yeah. I think he's very good too.
I remember when he first showed up in Supergirl and he landed and he smiled and he thanked the police officers for doing their job. I'm like,
Hey, look, you
did
guys can do it. Yeah.
he just
Oh,
said thank you and patted them on the back. Like
And
that's Superman.
Superman Returns had the scene when he lands the plane in the middle of a baseball field. And then he says, flying still is the safest way to travel. That is like, oh, you did it. You knew you could do it. You can do it, and you choose not to. Is what's happening.
It is a choice. No, yeah, you're right. Like, I was going to say that now the thumbnail for the episode is just going to be all the different Lex Luthors, with hair. Maybe even like a comic book one where he had the ginger hair. Throw that in there too. Before he went, when he was mad scientist, less like mad industrialist, somewhere in
Yeah,
there.
he had an orange bowl cut.
Yep. Very Guy Gardner. Okay. So let's talk about, let's wrap up the show, talk about some comics that we read. Andrew, you had one that you wanted to talk about.
Yes, I've read Essential Judge Anderson, Satan. And in this story, a ancient alien returns to the earth and claims to be the devil. And Anderson cannot stop him, but he's willing to play a game with her. And they essentially it's kind of a Q Star Trek puts humanity on trial kind of thing. It's pretty great. Beautiful art by Arthur Ranson. Can't recommend it enough.
Yeah, that kind of reminds me of just with the devil being an alien or ancient alien. It was like years ago. It was a podcast that was like just short, scary stories, and one of them was kind of like that. Like there was a devil that it was an alien that was it looked exactly like the devil, like all the descriptions we have of the devil, and they had him basically locked in an underground government facility, and then it got out, and there's like one lady left trying to, and she kind of does, she not chess, but it's like I can't remember exactly what game, but it was like a board game. That she ended up locking the devil back in this government facility because she beat him at a board game, and I was like, that was pretty fun. It was a pretty
Candyland
fun
for the
short
win.
story.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mousetrap.
Yeah. Candyland because it's deterministic.
Chris, Ryan, you guys have anything?
Yes.
I have failed. I haven't read anything in so long.
And it's even current. Came out last week.
Yeah.
So this is Dracula Blood Hunt, which is part of the Blood Hunt crossover that's going on in Marvel right now.
Mhm.
And so this is the story. It is Dracula, the legendary immortal lord of the vampires, rules his undead nation from his stronghold in Vampirisk. So there's a nation of vampires in Marvel right now, apparently. I have not kept up. So when I read some of this stuff,
I have not kept up. I didn't know that there was a vampire nation.
Yeah.
Oh,
So this story, this issue revolves around Brielle Brooks, I think is how you say her name, the daughter of Blade. She has, she's also known as Bloodline. She's inherited her father's superhuman strength, reflexes, and senses, and uses them to defend against the creatures of the night. This was written by Danny Lore, and the artist is Vincenzo Caratu. And so it's yeah, spoiler alert if you want to read this book. So Dracula is back to his like blue skin, red, black, sexy armor self, right? Tattered cape. And he is he knows the end of the world is coming. Dracula does. And so this is like a get together story. Like it really feels like they're trying really hard to be Buffy the Vampire Slayer without being Buffy the Vampire Slayer, because the Bloodline's in high school, right? Or in college. I couldn't tell which one it is. She's going to school. It looks like high school because they've all got backpacks. And something happens with her. There's like some sort of global phenomenon event goes off, and now her powers are like almost out of control. Like her strength is so much, she tries to open the door of her car and she tears it off the hinges. Her eyes go white like storms, and they set up this big fight where she ends up fighting these vampires, and she's not like as trained and as seasoned as her dad, but she holds her own. She's using her powers fighting these vampires, and then it looks like she's not going to win, and then Dracula shows up, and they're going to be, and she's like, it's Dracula, but then he starts killing the other vampires. Like they do this like back-to-back scene where they're killing vampires together and stuff, and then they're like, I like your moves, yeah, I like your style, you know what I mean? Kind of a Starsky and Hutch get together here, right? And then he gives her this, like, I have a proposition for you, you're the only person who can help me save the world. And it's funny because it's like, I don't know, I feel like it's like if I was trying to write a hip young person, where it's just failing, like using no cap incorrectly and stuff. It's like straight Dracula, no cap, the world is about to get yeeted,
That reminds me of the old Teen Titans when they're talking jive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh.
This is a tried and true tradition in comic books where old men are trying to write young people as they feel like they are, but with like that tinge of disgust for them. You know what I mean? Where they're like, oh, they're just gonna say groovy at everything. You know what I mean? That's how kids these days talk, And so she's got a cool look, and I'm interested, you know what I mean? I want to know what's going on with what's Dracula the vampire worried about going to take over the world, you know what I mean, that he needs to fight with. And then interest for for Luke, the very last panel has a reveal where Daredevil has been watching the fight go down. And so yeah, it didn't help. Yeah, he didn't help. He's just there, like he's gonna see who's gonna win, and then he's gonna take it.
He's like, it's not my time yet. It's
exactly.
Not my time.
Yeah, he's sitting up
he
there.
knows
And he's
they're
like
vampires, and he's like, I'm gonna sit this one out.
He's like, yeah, does not being able to see have any help with vampires? No.
Hard pass. Swings away.
Yeah. Yeah, the man without fear is not exactly fond of vampires. So
listen,
yeah,
but listen, he's a very Catholic guy. Maybe he'll come flying in with crucifixes.
Like maybe you should. Sounds like you should be in the room when they're IDing this up. You know what I mean? Because
they're saving that for issue 5.
That sounds
instead of
pretty
billy
dope.
clubs, he's got crucifixes.
Yeah,
Daredevil vampire hunter.
Is he technically a priest? Has he ever
currently? Yeah. So in the current run, he is literally the demons of the gluttony and all of the deadly sins. He's literally a priest, and he's exorcising the demons from his friends.
So he should be pretty stoked about like a vampire invasion, because he could just grab like a 24-pack of Dasani and bless the whole thing. I don't know how it works. Like you've got to do it one bottle at a time. But if you could do the whole case, then he's just throwing them at the vampires. You know what I mean? And the first
even better, get Cable with one of those super soaker backpacks.
Yeah.
And he just pours it all in there and just lets Cable or the Punisher, whatever.
Yeah. Punisher.
Just go crazy.
Yeah. See, again, Marvel, we're available. And this is the sort of stuff we give away for free on the podcast. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we save the good
all
stuff.
the good stuff. Yeah.
Saving the good stuff for when you're paying us.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Yeah, it's so interesting. Like art's good. It seems cool. Well, interested to see where this whole story goes.
Cool. But speaking of Daredevil, I am an issue behind, but I read the issue 8. It's the 60th anniversary oversized issue. So in Marvel fashion, like it's a bunch of mini stories. Like some he's back in the black armor. One of them is kind of current, where he's beating up some thugs to try and find information, what he does. But there's actually 2 stories in here with Elektra Daredevil that I really am looking forward to, because I kind of tease that the Daredevil Woman Without Fear is coming back, because they've been doing like 5-6 issue miniseries of it. But from what I saw, it's going to the original plan is for it to be an ongoing. So I'm excited about that. Elektra has taken in an orphan who wants to be a killer assassin, and Elektra's trying to say, "You don't want none of this life." So it's we'll see how that goes. Stepmom Elektra. But then the other one, I had read the first couple issues of it, but I finally picked up the graphic novel, The Sheriff of Babylon, from Tom King. Very heavy compared to your standard superhero comics. It's it's based on his time in the CIA in Iraq during the invasion in 2003, 2004. And yeah, they show a lot of stuff that definitely a mature reader's book. That is for sure. And it's him working. It's the main character working with some of the local like politicians and ex Iraqi policemen, trying to track down a terrorist who's been attacking the new government. And yeah, they don't really portray either side in a super good light. So it really comes off as like it's people are people, and there are bad people and there are good people. And you really get that sense as you're reading through all these characters, like no matter what terrible thing happens to them, like they're still good people and they're still trying to do the right thing. But then you also have the smile at the camera, but then the second it's off, they're piece of shit. But yeah, so again, very, very mature, but also really, really good. So yeah, that's all I had. You guys have anything else you want to talk about before we close the show out?
I don't want X-Men to end.
I'll find the very sad X-Men theme to play next week when the last episode goes up. Just sad piano X-Men theme.
Like the Hulk walking away.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
3 minutes.
Exactly.
Oh, pour one out for Roger Corman.
Yep.
Yeah. That guy knew how to make a movie. Not a good one, but how to make a movie.
Yeah, he gave us so much with so little. Hey, we got a long weekend. You want to knock out another one of these out? Sure thing, boss. Yeah.
I'll be there in 5.
Yeah, I love Roger Corman movies. They're all terrible. They're all terrific because you just got to do them. That's a man that was passionate about filmmaking. It didn't matter what he was making. Yeah.
Didn't he do Silence of the Lambs?
No.
Michael Mann did that one. No, he did. That was Manhunter.
Roger Corman did the old Fantastic Four movie they didn't release.
Oh, that one.
Yeah.
Ryan goes, I don't know what you guys are talking about.
He did the original Little Shop of Horrors.
Yeah, I was thinking that too.
Yeah. And then he also did like Crab Monsters and War of the Satellites and all these other
He's
B movies. Yeah.
He's in Silence of the Lamb.
Oh, he's in Silence of the Lambs?
Yes, he's the FBI director.
Oh.
That's
I don't know why I'm relating his name to that.
Well, you're correct. This is what it was. He's in it. You know what I mean? Like not even
funny.
Not even tangentially related. He's in the damn movie. I didn't know that until I just looked up IMDb. I was like, did he have anything to do with it? Yes. That's the answer.
Oh, that's funny.
He's credited as the writer of one of the writers of the Little Shop of Horrors.
Yeah, he made the old movie. Yeah.
So, but yeah, like you'd have to know something that he did to know anything about him. He's the king of these B movies. And when people say B movies, they still think of like, oh, a director you've heard of and stuff like that. No, this is when you would go back to, like he did the Black Scorpion and Desert Thunder and like
Yeah, it was
Overdrive.
the
These are-
second movie to play at the drive-in.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Andrew had us watch, what was the Roger Corman one we watched about the aliens?
Crab monsters.
Crab monsters. It's just called Crab Monsters. It was amazing. It was so much fun to watch. It's such a bad movie, but he was the king of being able to take those movies and they're so bad that they kind of peak around the dial again into, hey, this is fun to watch.
Yeah, they are fun. They are all fun.
Yeah.
Dick Miller's in a bunch of them too. He was in Gremlins, and he's the neighbor in Gremlins. He's in everything. He was in Deep Space Nine in the 2015 episode, or the Bell Riots.
Oh yeah.
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 Yep. It just makes me think of when we watched the Captain America punching Italian Nazis.
I love that.
Where he's like, "Pull over, I'm gonna be sick." Ha! I got your car.
Ned Beatty. Yeah.
The very first movie I ever watched on HBO when we got the free trial of HBO when I was little, and I was like, "This is amazing."
You're like, he's got a shield. It's made of plexiglass. Whatever. But yeah, so thanks everybody for listening. If you have any comments or questions. Oh, you guys didn't get to plug your stuff yet.
Chris, plug the stuff.
Yay, plugging all the things. So Validity Studios on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook, and Chris Hoffman, Validity Studios on Whatnot, Monday nights at 7 p.m. Mountain Time. Come and hang out, and you can watch us draw the latest version of a comic book cover. Get one yourself. They make great presents.
Yeah, they do. Okay, yeah, thanks for listening. You have any comments, questions, suggestions for episodes, go ahead and let us know. Give us a thumbs up, share, do all the things that the algorithm likes, and the AI gods will be appeased. But yeah, Ryan,
Don't forget to subscribe.
you may now exit the dome.
Fuck responsibility.
I could see the whole time.
Hail Hydra.
I don't know what I'm supposed to stay here.
It's never not funny. All right, guys. Bye.
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 Wow.